All right. Well, hello and welcome to ADK Woman, the podcast where North Country women gather to inspire, uplift, and grow together. I am your co-host, Mindy Audlin, here with my co-host, co-founder, and also our featured speaker for today, LeeAnne Ruff. So today is about something that I know so many of us are craving, and that is balance. We're not talking about the kind of balance that you see on everybody's social media, where it's like it looks like you've got it all together. We're talking about like how do you like for real
Mm.
get grounded, get balanced, and and keep your sanity in the midst of all that's going on in your life and in the world. So, joining me, I'm very honored to introduce, as I said, my co-founder in ADK Woman. LeeAnne Ruff is a dynamic, amazing keynote speaker. She is also the author of My Personal Best, a self-care journal to chronicle your amazing life experiences of personal growth and triumph. We are both passionate about supporting and uplifting Adirondack women to live a life of fulfillment and balance. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So take it
Well,
away,
thank
LeeAnne.
thank you. Balance is our theme for the month. It is something that all women, I think, deal with, whether it be ongoing or different seasons in our lives. So I want to really get real about balance. Like Mindy said, it is not what looks good on Instagram, not the kind that has color-coded calendars, meal prepping on Sundays. It's not a perfectly timed morning routine. We're going to talk about the kind of balance that keeps you grounded when life is anything but feeling that way. It doesn't always look pretty, but it feels steady, and that's different, right? Quiet, powerful kind of balance that keeps you going when you're really trying to hold and manage a lot. Because let's be honest, if you're listening to this, if you're participating, chances are you've been juggling work, you've been juggling relationships, caregiving, big dreams. We were hearing a little bit about that earlier, and maybe even bigger doubts while trying not to drop yourself in the process of life. So today we're not chasing perfection. We're looking for presence. So I want to start with this question. I want you to come to these lunch and learns and go away with some actions. So I want to ask you this. If you've got a journal or you're taking notes or you're on your note app, I want you to write this down. What does balance look like for you right now? And how does it feel? Jot, what are your initial ideas on that? What does balance look like for you right now and how does it feel? Gives you something to think about. Let's talk about redefining balance. Let's redefine this word because the truth is balance isn't about doing more, trying to add more. It's about doing what matters most on purpose. And that's a real mindset shift. If your idea of balance is based on someone else's lifestyle or their priorities or support system, it's no wonder it's not working for you. It's not personal to you. Balance, it's not a performance, it's a practice. So I want you to ask yourself, whose definition of balance am I living by? Have you created something in your mind that isn't true to you? Because maybe you've been trying to live up to an impossible standard that doesn't even belong to you. So take a moment right now and try this. Choose three words that define balance for you in this season. Maybe it's peace, flexibility, fulfillment, or maybe it's strength, surrender, and space. Your season is personal to you. There's no wrong answer. This is your blueprint. So, three words that would define balance for you right now in the moment. Now, you heard me say the word season, so I want to talk about a concept that has changed my life, and I think it might shift yours too. And it's understanding seasons versus systems. And here's how it goes. Seasons are the chapters that you're in: new beginnings, grief, hustle, healing, raising little ones, taking care of older ones, building something big, letting go of something even bigger. Those are seasons that you're in. Systems are the support structures that you put in place to help you stay really steady during those seasons. And here's the mistake that so many of us make. We try to apply the same systems to every season, but you can't run a springtime system in a winter season. We know that. We live in the North Country. We really understand seasons. And not everything works every part of the year. You can't expect summer energy when you're in a season of grief or recovery or redirection. You can't bloom in every season. And I think the good news is you're not meant to. So ask yourself, okay, what season am I in right now? And what kind of system would support me in this exact moment of my life? Stop trying to wear shoes that don't fit, right? Don't put your big snow boots on right now. They don't work for you right now. So think about that. What season are you in? What would fit? Maybe this season calls for grace. Maybe it calls for a tighter schedule or more space or more structure. Balance begins when we honor the season and adapt the system. I've had to really go through a lot of that with the caregiving and the grief that I've gone through in the last few years with losing my parents. I went to lunch with my best friend last week, and she said, LeeAnne, when I met you, we've been friends for 30 some years. When I met you, all I could think of was the word power. You're just power. And I was like, oh, I mean, she and I are very close, and I never realized that that was her impression of me. She's like, yeah, I look at you and I'm like, oh my gosh, how does she do it all? And I was thinking about it just last night, like power. I can't power through everything. You can't power through grief. You can't. You have to go through it. You have to live it. There's some things you can't power through. So, I have to redefine what I view as balance just as much as I'm asking you to do that as well. So now let's talk about boundaries, because here's a truth bomb for you. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a blinking red light on your dashboard. We hear burnout. It's just the buzzword, right? Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about keeping you in alignment. And so I want to give you a simple way to reframe this today. And it's, I give myself permission to blank so that I can blank. I give myself permission to rest so that I can reimagine. So let me give you a few more examples. I give myself permission to say no to things that drain me so that I can pour into the people and projects that light me up. I give myself permission to not explain every decision to everyone and justify it to everyone so that I can protect my peace. I'm going through this right now. I like to keep it real with everyone. I'm not going on vacation with my husband down to North Carolina to the condo that has been in the family for 37 years because it is too small, and there will be four of my grandchildren, my son and daughter-in-law in 2 bedrooms, and it's crowded and it's messy and it's chaotic. And I want to protect my peace and not get stressed out over my grandkids making huge messes and noise and all that. That's not a peaceful vacation for me. So I am choosing, you guys go. Have fun. I don't have to be at everything. I can step back and miss some of the fun things so that I can have fun with the other things, right? So you have to know how to set boundaries and set them without, I have no guilt over it. Boundaries don't make you selfish. They make you sustainable. Okay? It's not being selfish, it's being sustainable. You're allowed to choose yourself and without any apology. And it has changed my life when I turned the corner and started doing that to protect my own peace. Are you still with me? We're going to shift the language a little bit now from routines to rhythms, because when you think about, boundaries and balance, and a word that comes to my mind is routine and good habits. But routines, they feel rigid, right? But rhythms does that just kind of moves with you. And when you start to shift the way you think about your life and how you manage your life, if you shifted your thought to what rhythm am I in instead of what routine do I need? Because life, it doesn't happen in perfect blocks. And routines are great when you have a block, a block of time that is stagnant, that's rigid, right? But life in general happens in waves. So maybe instead of beating yourself up for not sticking to a routine, ask yourself, what rhythm would support the woman I'm becoming? A rhythm might look like a Sunday night reset for you, or a monthly walk and talk with your friend, or it could be just a morning pause before the noise of the day begins. Rhythms, they create a flow, and flow creates balance. So let's take a breath here. I'm going to give you something else to think about. What's one small shift that you could make this week that would allow you to feel more balanced? Say it out loud to yourself. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've thought your brain, I know how our brains work. Your brain has run through all the things and oh yeah, I got this, I've got that. Oh, what was I doing with this? What season am I in, right? So when your brain is firing on all cylinders, take a breath and say, what's a shift I could make right now, today, or this week to help me feel a little more balanced? And say it out loud to yourself, say it in your head, whatever. Write it down and claim it. I like to say own your shift. And that's exactly how I think when I'm trying to, work on myself. So I want to circle back, balance isn't something that you arrive at. Because I've heard speakers say, do this to get balanced, do this to get balanced, it's like, it's not something that you arrive at. It's something that you practice. It's not a goal to achieve. It's balance is something that you are practicing every day. It's something you choose. And every day you decide to come back to yourself, right? Think about that. Think about the rocking chair. You're go back and forth, but make sure that you come back to yourself because that's the most important person that you want to take care of. So choose one thing to shift. Maybe it's a system, a boundary, a rhythm, and choose it with love. Choose it with kindness to yourself, but choose it with power because balance is honoring your season, not forcing your system. And that, my friends, that is how you own your shift.
I love the question, LeeAnne, like what does balance look like? Because we throw around a word like balance a lot, but what is it like? How do I translate this idea of life balance into my life? For me, right now, it's family. I've got a kid about to graduate from high school, so there's all of that, which is priority for me, is
Mhm.
helping her transition. But then there's also the get outside and stick my hands in the dirt, which is my self-care, and
Yeah.
then there's ADK Woman and there's my business, and that's an important piece too. I mean, the old metaphor is the big rocks. What are the big rocks that you put in the jar first to make sure that the big rocks fit in the jar, and then sprinkle in all the little rocks, all the little to-dos.
Yeah, well, I think it's really important to know what are the big things that you can put down.
Hmm.
Like the things that people look at, what do I need to take on? I look at, well, what can I put aside? And traveling on, I-95 on the 4th of July weekend to go down to the beach in North Carolina is like not a stress I want. Like I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put that down. If, at first it was hard because this isn't the first year I've done this. I'm getting better at knowing my boundaries and protecting my mental health. It's not easy, but I'll tell you what, it gives me peace. So
I love
anyway.
that. And it's not just the putting it down. That there's a scripture that says, let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. And I remind myself of that a lot. Like there's power in saying, this is my yes, and I am all in on my yes. And this is my no, and I am absolute on that no. It provides so much clarity. So I think
Yes.
it's the two parts is one, saying no to it, and then also not feeling guilty about saying no to it. Not taking on that weight is part of balance as well. Because sometimes I think that's the harder part. It's one
Oh
thing to
yeah.
say no, it's another thing to not like, I'm so sorry. And
Absolutely.
apologetically be able to set those boundaries. Thank you all so much for joining us for this amazing conversation. Thank you, LeeAnne, for sharing what balance looks like and for having us reflect on what balance looks like for each of us individually. It's really powerful. And if you'd like to be part of our live studio audience here as we record our podcast each month, we want to invite you to join us as a member at adkwoman.com and be part of our growing network of heart-centered women across the Adirondacks. You don't have to do it alone. We were never meant to do this alone. And so it's great to come together. So until next time, keep showing up, keep rising up, and keep connecting just like we do as Adirondack women. Thanks for being
Thank you,
here, everybody.
everyone. Bye.